The thing is, women know when another woman is faking it. We know. Sometimes we go along with it, when it's in our best interest. And that's what you guys call hive mind. And it isn't because we want to support other women, even though that's what we'll say. It's because it somehow helps us. Maybe we believe them because we want people to believe us. It's shameful. And I wish we could just be honest about it, but we don't. We're not, because, accountability is tricky. Well, what do you get when you lack accountability and you're insatiably hungry for attention? Right? And if it were a person, it might look a lot like Nala Ray. Do you guys remember her? She was an OnlyFans girl, and she was on the Whatever podcast and everything, had the really red hair. I guess you saw her in the thumbnail. Spoiler alert. And then she had this conversion. She became born again. She was completely different all of a sudden. Kind of like Superman. All of a sudden, he's not Clark Kent, he's Superman. But I'm sorry, I just didn't buy it right away. I just didn't buy it. It would have been great if that's how it works, but it doesn't work like that. And that is a great example of how you guys shouldn't think to yourselves, oh, this is wife material, because 2 seconds ago she was a 304, but now she's totally different. Jesus can make her different, but that doesn't make her a wife or a girlfriend or a longtime partner or whatever, right? So this is the extreme version of the danger of going after and falling for a TRADCON, because their past may not look as sketchy or as degenerate as Nala Ray's, but it might be in that realm, and it's going to carry the baggage and everything with it. So Andrew Wilson gave her a chance at first. I tried, right? But internally, I just knew. He gave her a chance at first. He will say that in the video we're about to watch. But, time will tell, as they say, and time told. And you know what? We tell on ourselves. So we're going to watch that. And I'm going to analyze it from the woman's perspective and enjoy every bit of Andrew tearing it apart. Not me, her. Welcome back to Far From Eden. There we go. Poof. Sorry about yesterday's video, you guys. I was messing with the camera so much that, you're turning things off, turning things on, checking connections, and I had turned off the microphone sound on the computer. So it was a silent movie. I am so sorry. I owe you guys 2 extra videos next week. I know you'll say, no, it's okay. We understand. I get it. But think about it. We get to see each other 2 extra times. So my plan is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then we'll have our 2 makeup videos. So that'll be good. We'll see each other extra next week. So yeah, this video, I think it's so important, because not only are we going to have a look at Nala Ray and the example that she gives us for what women do sometimes, but also how are they able to do it? How were we ever able to do it? Who were the first people to believe us? And who, when you have bad behavior, it only works if people enable it. And that's what we have right here on the screen. We have this Jenko guy. And you're going to see some epic levels of simpery. I mean, it's embarrassing. But What makes it better is Andrew is here to call it out, because watching it by itself is far too painful. But watching it this way is the opposite of that. So I have it paused right on a part where you could see him, like, the simper just in his eyes. Anyways, okay, let's go. Let's go.
Over the past week or so, I was just minding my own business, enjoying my weekend. It was actually a long weekend in Australia. And this story comes across my desk. George Janko speaking with Nala Ray on his podcast. I didn't know that he actually had her on the podcast, but they mentioned yourself and Brian, not by name, but by the whatever podcast. George Janko, horribly misinformed about this. Just a little quick overview. I posted this on my Instagram, Rattlesnake TV, if you guys want to go check it out, my Instagram. And Rach replied to it, and then George Janko replied saying, we would love to speak to you guys or whatever. I think they've exchanged a DM, but nothing has been actually organized yet. So any movements on that front?
Yeah, Janko won't respond to us. So that's
Janko and Nala versus Andrew and Rachel. That's the debate we want to see. I do.
The movement. What likely happened, this is just a theory, is that Janko was like, actually, I'd love to hear from you guys. These are probably just dumb Manosphere guys. And someone was like, hey, listen, Janko, you probably don't want Andrew on your show because he's going to tear into you like a hobo into a bologna sandwich and make you look fucking stupid. So that's probably like the worst possible thing that you can do. And he was like, oh, shit. Okay, yeah, I better not actually do that. So we're back to these broads can peddle their atrocious lies, and nobody's allowed to defend themselves from it.
The simp enablers never, ever want to actually speak to a man who does not simp for a woman. A man like Jake Rattlesnake here and Andrew Wilson, who know what they believe, have convictions, and have no problem calling out degeneracy, have no problem saying, hey, you're a 304. That's exactly what you are. You're selling yourself on OF. That's part of the reason the church has failed, because the church is not inviting to people like Jake Rattlesnake and Andrew Wilson, at least not the generic Protestant churches. They like men more like this George Janko guy who's just going to, put somebody like Nala in a singles group and talk to the unsuspecting males and encourage them to simp for somebody like Nala and just be like, look, Jesus has forgiven her. Therefore, you're a terrible man if you don't want to wife her up. I've seen it happen. That's why, those churches are not for men.
That's basically how it is.
I have a slightly different theory. I think that, and we're going to play the clip in a second, and this is quite the clip, really. 2 minutes of just, whew. Anyways, but I think that maybe he wanted to save face a little bit by saying that he would have you on, but maybe actually never doing the podcast. I think there was something with Sam Shamoon where he had Sam Shamoon on the podcast, but then never released it. So look, I've actually met George Janko a few years ago at a Halloween party in Los Angeles, kind of like just random, but he was there, and his now wife was there. Really good guy in person. His wife was a really sweet lady. So I've got nothing against these guys whatsoever. It's not necessarily an attack, but I do think that this is just like they are so. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they're just misguided about the situation. Like they actually haven't watched the episode. They've got no idea what they're talking about. But I don't know. Let's watch the clip.
One of the mistakes I do regret making was going on the whatever podcast. I was like, maybe I wasn't ready for that because it was a 9-hour podcast in a stuffy room with 2 men just tearing me apart.
Not the first time she's had 2 men tearing her apart.
By the way, I wasn't in the room. That's the first lie. I wasn't even there. So I was, that was a remote call.
I forgot something. Lack of accountability, insatiable need for attention, victim mindset. We're strong and independent. We're all these things, but there were 2 men in the room tearing me apart. No. And she's going to take a shot at Brian. It was a stuffy room. I doubt that. I doubt that. It looks like a beautiful room with, you know, views of Santa Barbara. But nice try, Nala. You're clearly too good for all of us.
I have been in the room with Nala before when I was tearing her to pieces because, you know, she was on OnlyFans at the time and, you know, a literal prostitute, and told me that you should have unconditional love towards your kids, even if they're doing horrible things, and you need to accept them no matter what.
That's not loving. It's not loving to accept your child doing those things and ruining themselves. It is not accepting to enable, like an alcoholic or somebody who's anorexic. We see that. That's not good. But when it comes to OF chicks, when it comes to those sorts of things, all of a sudden, supporting / enabling is good. Notice that that is strictly for a female, unless you get into the rainbow type stuff. And then I guess the guys, you're supposed to support that. But then again, that would be men becoming women. That would be men becoming more feminine. So you're still just supporting femalehood. You're supporting femalehood in all of those ways. You're only allowed to enable somebody if it supports a female and feminized agenda, even though it's nothing to do with actual femininity.
Blah, 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 blah. And we got into it about that and all sorts of different things.
And how she also like loves cheating. It's her biggest fantasy. Is like lying,
and also
lying
that she you know, is a pathological liar and prides herself on being a pathological liar. So yeah, but the second time, the time that she's talking about here, I wasn't even there.
All right. Well, just let me know when you want
to
stop.
So there was one man in the room, and she had multiple women in the room with her taking her side, and there was only one person there. So
Yeah.
But it showed them who they were.
Yeah.
What does that mean? It showed them who they were.
Well, apparently he's being intentional. It showed us that we were bad people because Nala had a fake ministry that she was lying about, and Rachel called her out on it. So the funny thing here is, like, all Janko would have to do, like, this would be over super quick. I'd just sit down and be like, so Janko, can you tell me why Nala Ray is selling ministry courses on her website? And here's what they're called, and here's all the screenshots for it. And you can go there right now and buy one. And Janko would be like, no, nope, I can't explain that. And I'd be like, yeah, exactly, Janko. Exactly.
Oh, man, it would be, if he wasn't going into this with basically a totally open mind, if he actually did have you on the show, and a totally open mind and just like, all right, like, tell me what I'm missing here. And if he, by the end of the podcast, if he didn't totally come around to it, then it's like malicious, and there's malicious intent there. Because right now, give the benefit of the doubt, doesn't know what he's talking about, hasn't watched the podcast, doesn't know about all the receipts that we've got about how she was still running the OF, and her boyfriend put the prices up, and how she's selling all of these courses on her website. Like, we'll give the benefit of the doubt, say he doesn't know any of that, but he should know that before he starts going and sort of like slagging you guys off.
Did you guys know that? Did you know that when she was born again and all that stuff, that her OF was still up, and that her boyfriend, who supposedly was the one who led her out of her degenerate ways and led her to Christ, but he was still boosting up her OF and simultaneously creating these ministry courses and what have you for her? He clearly was enabling her to try to be part of that star, celebrity, attention, whatever that she was. Clearly. Do you guys think it's going to work? Do you think it's going to work between the two of them, or is it going to be like a giant breakup a la Destiny and his polyamorous relationship that was working so great? It doesn't work. At the end of the day, degeneracy doesn't work. Not on the micro level, not on the macro level. And all this enabling of bad behavior that we do, it just doesn't work. And I'm here to watch the truth come out
on the podcast.
Well, even if they walk,
the whole thing is like, this has been the pattern for Nala. Is she goes on podcasts specifically that she thinks will not have follow-ups, which will allow us to give our side. To date, there has not been a single podcast which he's been on bitching about us where they've actually reached out to myself or Brian to get our side of the story. Not a single time. And this is objectively hilarious because we, both of us, me and Brian both, have much larger followings than Nala does. Much larger followings. We're much more connected in the media space. So it's really bizarre that they would want to have her on to talk her shit, but not allow anybody else to come on to clear the air or refute it.
Don't you think that's weird? I bet she thinks it's weird. This is a change. The fact that Andrew, Brian, these men have bigger followings than 304 Nala must be breaking their brains, because the shift is people are starting to follow strong men again. People are starting, because we have the internet. It's just not simp enablers in front of our faces all the time. We have real masculinity that is not being torn down. They're trying, but there's so much following behind it now. And the fact that a Christian, strong-willed, highly principled man like Andrew has a larger following than OF chick over there, that's great. And it must be very confusing for them. And if you think too that this dude, George Jenko right here, isn't also trying to hitch himself to, what he thinks Nala is this big superstar, because that used to be how it was. You take off your clothes and now you're the biggest star. And it might work over there in OF and in 304 world, but it's going by the wayside. People are starting to say no. And somebody like Nala Ray, who did the flipperoni, and now she's Mother Teresa, is helping us to move away from it, because the fakery is right in our faces. And people are rejecting it and calling it out. Thanks to people like Andrew Wilson, who's calling it out publicly.
And I just noticed that there's a trend with that. And I think that it is probably going to be malicious with Janko as well. I don't think that he's going to actually have me and Rachel on the podcast. No. I don't think he's going to allow us to give our side whatsoever. And I don't actually blame him, because he's going to look really stupid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, would you be willing to do it in a more of a discussion format rather than a debate format where you just tell him what the pieces that he's missing and give him a chance to be a good
I wouldn't go into debate. I'd go in to discuss it. But either way, he's going to look stupid because he didn't do any of his due diligence. And instead, right now, what he's doing is he's running his mouth about things he doesn't know anything about, and pretending that he does. And he needs to answer for that, right? So what I would say to him is like, you need to answer for this. You opened your big, stupid mouth and spewed a bunch of bullshit and horse shit, and you need to correct that. And, like him and most of these guys, they don't like it when you point that out. So
do you think that Nala could get a spot on the Protestant Avengers on the team?
Nala will forever be pushed by women who are in the Sewing Circle Christian group. And the reason for that is because they're actually all femcons. And their whole point with her is utilizing her as a spear point to as like a victory dance, right?
This is the part to really pay attention to. If you're still out there and you're still wanting to date and you're wanting to find a good woman, right? I will echo Rachel Wilson and say, if I knew how to find one, I'd be the richest woman in the world, because it's tricky. And these are the most dangerous ones. The ones in the Christian sewing circle, the ones that look at somebody like Nala and say, well, look at her past. I mean, we can forgive her. Therefore, I'm basically sinless because my past isn't as bad as her past. That's why they hitch their wagons to that. That's why.
To lower the bar as well.
We did this. We were the ones who moved her away from this evil, heinous lifestyle, right? And so because of that, they're always going to be pushing her into the mainstream, even though nobody wants her. Christians don't want her there. Conservatives don't want her there. Liberals don't want her there. She doesn't have a brain in her head. She has no political takes. Like what are Nala's great political takes? None. What's her great religious takes? None. What's her great spiritual takes? None. The whole point of Nala being there is to spearhead the idea that, look, I was a whore and then I stopped being one because Christ told me to.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? Okay, yay. Everyone applauds. She gets on a plane, goes to the next place, tells them the same exact story. So the whole point is it's all about the testimonial, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is like the types of churches who want that, the testimonial, are usually very grifty churches as well.
Yeah.
Very simpy churches too. Very simpy, very feminized churches. Look the other way and water down the Bible. We're going to have a video coming up this week that is going to really drive home some of these expectations that the Bible puts on women. And a certain fellow by the name of Nick, last name begins with an F. I don't even know if I could say his name on YouTube without, some kind of demonetization. But because he's banned from YouTube. But anyways, he really lays it out strongly. I would love to see him and Andrew debate. But anyway, that's just a teaser for next week. Yeah, I think Wednesday. I'm so excited for that one.
For sure. But yeah, what you said before about Janko and everything, and the fact that he does need, I really do think he needs to answer for this because he's got a big platform and he's posting these shorts around and they're rage bait, clickbait shorts, or his team is doing it or whatever. This is why I'm making a big deal out of this. I've been putting it on Instagram, on Twitter, and been sending it around because he needs to have you on the show and he needs to answer for this. And if he's going to look stupid, at least be humble and stupid is what I'd say. So
they don't listen. They don't do it. Like, look, fundamentally, my biggest problem with the Sewing Circle Christians is that they're cowards.
Yeah.
These guys act like they're warriors for Christ, right? They're not. They're just fundamentally cowards. Imagine being so weak that if somebody comes on your show and says the word shit, you have a panic attack. Like, imagine being so soft in a political atmosphere where political commentators are getting shot in the neck and murdered in the streets, that you're so soft that if you have somebody on and they say the F word, you just crumble. You fall on the ground and start screaming in rage. And it's like, that's what they've become.
You know why? Do you ever wonder why they do that? It's two reasons. And it's very feminine, not feminine, female, right? Because back in the day, you didn't cuss around a lady. Back in the day, to a lady, that would be offensive. So what are they doing? They brought that in to where these men are clutching their pearls, also using it as an attack, manipulative. How dare you say that word? Doesn't that remind you of some woman 150 years ago in her parlor? How dare you? How dare you say that four-letter word in front of me? How do these men not see that that is what they're doing? Like, you have become the women from 100 years ago, okay? Dude, it's not becoming. It's not a good thing. You are, as Andrew said, soft. How in the world are you going to get the respect from any woman or any man when you're that soft? When words and syllables greatly offend you. Now, it may be not the way you'd like to conduct yourself in a professional atmosphere, what have you, but you don't get shocked and horrified because another man said a dirty word. And to use that as manipulation, like, oh my God, well, you're just a piece of junk because you came in here and you're saying these bad words. I'm clearly better than you. I'm sorry, but that's very female of you to do that. Not good female. It's just indicative of what we've been doing lately to bring a man down. And you know what? It's great that there are men like Andrew around that say, okay, well, F off.
The softest, weakest, most easily malleable, easily led on planet Earth. And it's very hard for me to have any respect for that kind of Christianity.
Hold on to something that Andrew just said. Easily led. Do you think that any woman wants a man who's easily led? What's going to happen in a relationship where there's a man and a woman and the man is easily led? Who's going to lead? And is she going to respect you? No, You cannot simp your way into love, because unless we respect you, unless we think you're capable, it is not going to work. You might think so because you could put a smile on her face. She's smiling the same way she would if a little tiny puppy walked up to her. You don't want that type of a smile. There's a reason why women go for bad boys, and bad boys tell them no. And bad boys are not led by them. Is it any wonder? Just saying, I'm not saying we should go for bad boys, but in a world of these George Janko people who are soft, is it any wonder that that is who they're going for? Even if they don't have enough money and they can't provide or what have you, they're still going for these bad boys. Because you know what? As strange as it is, they respect them. I know that it's really difficult for a man in modernity to understand, because generationally you have been taught to put her on a pedestal, to provide and protect no matter what, because that's your duty. And yet she has no duties. You can't expect anything of her. You have to act like this guy and just, put her on a pedestal and kiss her rear end. No. Do you think that bad boys do that? No.
And so the thing is like, no, they're not going to have me on. Sewing Circle Christians never have on people who will actually refute their bullshit. They just don't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes them look bad.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so true.
DPG Thing says, it's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you without a dope beat.
We love Jungle over here. One of the great patrons. Let's carry on with this.
He had on Andrew Tate, bro. Look, maybe he'll prove me wrong. But
no, I think he had on Andrew Tate probably because he knows how people look at Andrew Tate. And I think he felt like he could be spiritually superior to Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is not a Christian, so I think he could do that. But when Andrew comes in, I don't think he can feel superior to Andrew. It's going to be really difficult. He's going to have to hang on the naughty words and the smoking. And when they do that, they've got nothing.
Just don't think so.
Way, let their fans cheer them. Remember, the world is going to cheer for things that we don't want to cheer for. So don't worry about whatever, literally. Don't worry about it.
They're whatever.
But here's the thing. We should pray for them as well.
I have been.
No, I think what they're doing in their heart.
So this is the whole thing that I really have never been able to relate to. And this is why I enjoy more the company of people like yourself and Jay and Jim Bob and guys like this, is because this whole purity signaling thing, I've never really thought that it's real, if that makes sense. I've never thought that it's actually authentic, and it kind of makes me just cringe when I see that sort of thing. Like, we're just
there are some people who are very genuine in that, and I have nothing but respect for them, right? But there's a lot of fakers, and
there's a lot of
yeah. And which one do we think Nala is? Track record, and can we trust this guy, Mr. King Simp? How on earth can you? This is just lies. And this is exactly what you have to look out for when you're trying to find a good woman. You're going to have her faking it, looking like, oh, I do pray for them. And you're going to have this guy like, oh, she's a great woman. She had a difficult past, but this reason, that reason, this reason. Accountability is not necessary. Consequences be gone. You should be a man and do the right thing. I like some of the things Matt Walsh does. I think he's right on some things, but as far as the whole marriage thing, and you should man up and just do it, and who cares about the character of the person or what they've done in the past? And you should believe what she says, not what she does or has done. I'm sorry, you have no obligation to do that. You have an obligation to not do that. And it's really difficult because the simps, they've got a lot of power, and you might disagree and you might say, oh no, that's not true. Well, how did we get here? Did we take our rights by force? Can we keep them if you guys want to take them away? No, So who's keeping them? Who gave them? Who enables bad behavior? People like this guy. And you don't have to do it. You've been told that if you don't act like this guy, then you're a bad guy. You're a jerk, to use a nicer word. That's what you've been told. You've been shamed for being a man with standards. And that's exactly what someone like Nala Ray represents. How dare you have standards? How dare you reject somebody with a sketchy past and a lot of baggage? You can do it. You can say no. You can stand up against all of that. And men are, which is wonderful, because if this is all they're offering, then you don't have to partake. And the thing is that we know Nala's past. We know what she's done. We know what she's been into. But you don't know what the other ones have. You don't know. You don't know what she's done. You don't know what she's covering up. You know what women will do? They will have their relationships, what have you, their, hot girl summers, their young, whatever they want to call the carousel, right? It's code for the carousel. They will do all that. Then when they want to get a high value man, a Christian man, all of that kind of stuff, what are they going to do? They wipe their social media. They do. And they start a new social media with different sorts of pictures and different sorts of updates and stuff like that. I've seen it. I've looked for people because I'm a giant stalker. I've looked for people and I've been like, where'd she go? And then I'll find her under like her first name and her middle name instead. And I'm like, this is a brand new Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And I've had to explain it to guys. I'm like, that's why. Because she doesn't want whoever she's trying to trap, to know what the past was. So this whole Nala Ray thing, it's a great example of why you should tread so lightly, as if you are trying to get through a minefield. Because that's what it is. It's just going to look like grass. Might even look like beautiful flowers. You step over it, finances gone, house gone, kids gone, reputation destroyed. I mean, pick one, pick several. It's not safe out there. And like I said, you guys are like, well, tell us the answer. Tell us what we should do. Where do we go from here? How do we find a good woman? I just still haven't been able to get myself to make a video for you guys to say how you find a good woman. Because that's like me telling you the safest way to swim with the sharks. If I tell you how I think the safest way to swim with the sharks is, then when you get eaten by jaws, I feel bad. Now, can society continue? If no one swims with the sharks? No. Because we have to make more of us. So herein lies the conundrum. But what I will do is warn you and tell you there are a lot of Nala Rays out there whose past is not all over the internet. It might not be as bad. It might not be as degenerate. But you'd be surprised how a little bit of degeneracy in our past. Now, men, I'm sure there's some similar whatever, but I'm here to talk about the women. There's plenty of people out there criticizing men. Upwards, downwards, backwards, every which way, criticizing men. So that's why I'm here, because we got to balance it out. Get myself all worked up. Anyways, I will triple check this video before I release it. I'm so glad to be with you guys today. And don't forget that we're going to be over on Literary Archaeology. That's my other channel. We'll be over there tonight at 8 Sunday. to examine really how we got here and how we could have taken an off-ramp, at the beginning of the 1800s. Could have saved this. And instead, downhill. But anyway, you might as well smile. I do, anyways, because I feed my soul. And you guys should too. You should feed your souls. You should protect your peace. I love you guys. Thank you so much for always being so understanding. And I will see you guys on the next one.